You have been lied to about the nature of your suffering. You believe your pain comes from being ignored, underestimated, or overlooked. But the truth is more humiliating. You have trained others to disregard you. You have signaled to the world that you are willing to wait as a servant waits, not as a strategist waits. You confuse patience with passivity, endurance with virtue, silence with weakness. This is the first error I must tear from your mind. You have made yourself small because you never understood the real weapon hidden inside the discipline of waiting. You have waited like a prisoner hopes for mercy, instead of waiting like a commander studies the battlefield. You think dominance comes from action, from attack, from noise. But your life's chaos comes from your inability to hold your position with stillness, calculation, and cold purpose. You rush because you fear loss. You chase because you fear abandonment. You explain because you fear being misunderstood. You cling because you fear being forgotten. Every desperate impulse that controls you is proof that you have never wielded patience as a blade. And so you bleed for everyone who demands your time, your attention, your energy, your emotions. You let others set the pace of your life because you believe reacting quickly makes you strong. It does not. It only proves you are easily provoked, easily manipulated, easily moved. I once warned rulers that a leader who moves too quickly is a leader whose enemies can easily predict. What I said to princes applies even more viciously to you. The one who reveals their need first loses the negotiation before it begins. Your impatience exposes your weaknesses the moment another person pulls away. Hesitates, delays, or withdraws approval. You cannot dominate a situation when you collapse at the slightest discomfort. Your tolerance for tension is almost non-existent. This is why the world has been able to command you with nothing more than silence. The absence of reassurance breaks you more effectively than any sword. Look at the pattern of your life. Notice how many times you have surrendered your power simply because you could not endure waiting for clarity. You answered messages too quickly. You apologized before being asked. You justified yourself before being judged. You offered explanations before anyone demanded them. You bent your spine before anyone pushed you. And every time you did, the power that could have been yours evaporated into the hands of those who barely respected you. Dominance is not in the words you speak, but in the moments you choose not to. You have never understood that control is accumulated in silence, built in the pauses between actions, forged in the discipline of withholding what others want to extract from you. You chase certainty because you cannot tolerate the battlefield of ambiguity. You rush to fill space because empty space feels like a threat. You move prematurely because stillness feels like death. But impatience is the death of strategy. And strategy is the only path to power. Understand this. You are not suffering from lack of opportunity. You are suffering from the inability to slow down long enough to see the terrain. You run through every landscape blind. Disperati, frantic, terrified that if you stop moving, everything will fall apart. But the truth is the opposite. Everything falls apart because you never stop moving. No general wins by sprinting. No commander survives by rushing into fog. Power goes to the one who can stand still long enough for the fog to clear, long enough to see where the enemy hides, long enough to understand where the traps lie. Your enemy, whether a person, a situation, or your own undisciplined emotions, counts on your inability to wait. They provoke you with delay. They unsettle you with uncertainty. They weaken you with the threat of loss. And you fall for it every time. You react. You panic. You plead. You reveal everything. Your impatience is the chain you forged around your own wrists. Let me destroy the illusion that has kept you obedient your entire life. No one respects speed for its own sake. They respect the one who can restrain their impulses, the one who chooses when to act instead of being forced to. They respect the one who does not break under the weight of silence or distance. They respect the one who waits without fear. Patience is not passive. Patience is pressure. Patience is psychological warfare. Patience forces the other side to reveal their hand first. Patience makes them uncomfortable. Not you. Patience creates the illusion that you have something they cannot predict. And unpredictability is the purest form of dominance. But you have been predictable in your weakness. When someone delays, you move forward. When someone pulls back, you step closer. When someone becomes cold, you become warmer. When someone grows distant, you demand connection. You invert the natural order of power. You give control to the very people who destabilize you. And you tell yourself, this is loyalty, devotion, love, morality. It is not. It is fear wearing the mask of virtue. There is nothing noble about impatience. It is the confession of someone who cannot bear the discomfort required for power. It is the instinct of prey, not predator. Prey runs first. Prey panics first. Prey reveals its position. Prey exposes its vulnerability the moment it hears a twig snap. And you have been living like this jumpier, desperate, reactive, believing you are acting out of strength. When in truth, you are acting out of survival. But you are not meant to live as prey. You are meant to command your terrain. Machiavellian strategy dictates that dominance begins long before the first move. It begins in the refusal to be moved too soon. Your greatest weapon is not what you do, it is what you deny yourself from doing until the moment is right. But you have never held yourself back for long. You indulge your urgus. You rush to soothe your panic. You cannot endure the internal battlefield long enough to see victory. You retreat into action because action distracts you from your own mind. You are enslaved to your impulses, not in control of them. If you were a ruler in my time, your throne would have been stolen in a week. Not because you lack intelligence, but because you lack discipline over your own reactions. A ruler who cannot control their emotional tempo is a ruler who will always be controlled by others. The battlefield is not conquered by the strongest army, but by the army with the strongest nerves. The one that can hold the line under pressure wins. You have never held the line. You break formation at the slightest emotional discomfort. And every time you do, you hand your enemy a victory they do not deserve. You must understand the psychological mechanics of dominance. The one who can wait forces the world to come to them. The one who rushes toward the world becomes its servant. You have lived your entire life chasing outcomes instead of creating conditions. You want people to choose you, value you, see you, validate you. But you do not understand that the more you try to influence their perception directly, the more you reveal your dependence on it. Dominance collapses when need is exposed. The moment you show that you need someone's response, attention, or approval, they hold the position of power, and they know it. They feel it. They use it. I have watched rulers lose empires because they could not wait a single season for their enemies to starve. I have seen soldiers ruin their advantage by striking too early. I have seen lovers ruin relationships by demanding certainty before it was earned. You are repeating the same pattern. You demand clarity prematurely. You ask for answers before the situation ripens. You try to force outcomes that require time to develop. You interrupt the natural unfolding of advantage. And then you weep over the ruins, as if the universe has conspired against you. The universe is not conspiring against you. Your impatience is. Power requires the willingness to endure internal conflict without external movement. The battlefield inside you must be mastered before you attempt to shape the battlefield outside. Every impulse you act on prematurely is a soldier abandoning its position. Every emotional reaction is a breach in your defense line. Every anxious message you send is a scout you sacrificed for nothing. Every plea for clarity is intelligence. You hand it over to the opposing army. You cannot keep losing these battles. You must become someone who can stand in the center of their discomfort without flinching. Someone who can hold their silence even when their mind screams. Someone who can allow others to wonder what you are thinking instead of rushing to explain yourself. Someone who can watch others hesitate without feeling obligated to close the distance. Someone who can let others pull away without chasing. Someone who knows that sometimes the most strategic move is to stay precisely where you are. Patience is not waiting. Patience is resistance. Patience is dominance. Patience is choosing not to act so that others must. And you will never rise until you learn to do exactly that. This is where your real transformation begins. You must now confront the truth you have avoided your entire life. Your impatience has never been about efficiency or decisiveness. It has always been about fear. You do not act quickly because you are strong. You act quickly because you cannot stand the anxiety of not controlling outcomes. You move because you cannot bear the tension of waiting long enough to see what the other side will do. You call it urgency. You call it responsibility. You call it honesty or transparency. But I will tear these false banners from your hands one by one. It is fear. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being unchosen. Fear of being powerless. Fear that time itself might reveal your insignificance. And fear always exposes the one who carries it, even when they believe they are hiding it beneath noble explanations. If you were truly powerful, you would not need to move first. The powerful do not rush, they do not chase, they do not explain. They do not surrender their position merely to soothe a tremor inside themselves. The powerful hold. They wait. They watch. They gather intelligence. They let the battlefield breathe. They let the enemy reveal their desperation first. This is the art of war, the art of politics, the art of seduction, and the art of leadership, all built on the same unbreakable foundation. The one who can endure silence longer commands the outcome. You have been dominated again and again because you break under silence. And the world has learned this about you. Think of how easily people have steered you simply by withdrawing their attention. They step back a single pace, and you sprint forward 10. They speak a little less, and you reveal everything. They delay a response, and you collapse into emotional supplication. They withhold clarity, and you spill your entire strategy. They create uncertainty, and you offer them reassurance as if it were tribute. They use absence against you because absence terrifies you more than any confrontation. You do not fear being attacked. You fear being ignored. You fear being unimportant. And that fear has controlled you like a leash around your throat. Machiavellian strategy teaches that the most dangerous opponent is not the one who strikes quickly, but the one who refuses to be provoked, the one who can observe without reacting, the one who maintains their formation even while under psychological fire, the one who understands that every moment of restraint is a moment in which the other side becomes more exposed. Your problem is that you expose too much too early. You show your plans, your desires, your intentions, your vulnerabilities before the game has even begun. You act as if honesty is a shield, when in reality, it is often a hole in your armor. You must learn to hold your inner battlefield with the discipline of a veteran commander. Your emotions are soldiers undisciplined, loud, reckless. They want to charge. They want to engage. They want to attack shadows and chase illusions. They despise stillness. But stillness is not a luxury. It is a requirement. You cannot lead an army of impulses into victory. You must become their general. You must impose order on the chaos inside you, or the chaos will continue to make your decisions for you. Every time you have acted out of impatience, you have acted as a soldier, not a leader. Soldiers follow impulses. Leaders command them. Do you understand how much ground you have lost because you moved before the enemy did? Think of every negotiation where you revealed your terms first. Think of every relationship where you confessed more than the other person had earned. Think of every argument where you rushed to respond instead of letting the silence do its work. Think of every opportunity you sabotaged because you tried to force a timeline that was not ready. Think of every time you said, "I just wanted clarity," and in doing so, you handed the other party the psychological high ground. They did not have to work for your attention. You delivered it to them. They did not have to guess what you wanted. You told them. They did not have to risk anything. You risked everything. This is the behavior of someone who has never tasted the sharp simplicity of true patience. You only know waiting as helplessness because you have never practiced waiting as dominance. You think patience is enduring the absence of control when in truth, patience is the deliberate creation of pressure. When you wait with purpose, you force others to make the next move. You make them feel the weight of uncertainty. You make them expose their insecurities. You make them show whether they care, whether they fear losing you, whether they have discipline, whether they have strategy. Patience is the most efficient psychological interrogation ever invented. But you have never interrogated anyone. You have always volunteered your own truths before theirs. You act like someone who hands over classified intelligence before being asked a single question. You call this honesty, vulnerability, openness. But what you call it does not change what it is, a security breach. You cannot be respected when you give everything away before the negotiation begins. You cannot be valued when you show that you fear tension more than loss. People sense that you cannot tolerate discomfort, and they use it to shape you. They know all they have to do is delay, and you will hand them whatever they want just to feel calm again. You tell yourself you are loving, caring, proactive, sincere, but love without strategy becomes servitude. Caring without boundaries becomes exploitation. Proactivity without timing becomes sabotage. Sincerity without restraint becomes self-exposure. You must learn what every ruler learns, that even your virtues must be disciplined by strategy. A virtue without discipline becomes a liability. You have not been weak because you lacked goodness. You have been weak because you lacked patience. Patience refines virtue into power. Impatience corrupts virtue into self-destruction. You must understand the world does not reward the one who moves first. It rewards the one who controls the tempo. Timing is the spine of dominance. If you act too early, you lose leverage. If you act too late, you miss opportunity. Patience teaches you to wait until the exact moment when your action has maximum effect. Most people never reach this moment because their impulsive nature drags them into premature movement. They jump at every flicker of emotion. They explode at every whisper of threat. They respond to every signal sent by someone else. They are toys, not tacticians. You have lived as one of them. You have allowed the world to conduct you like an instrument. Every shift in someone else's behavior played a note through your mind. Every delay became a wound. Every silence became a narrative. Every withdrawal became a crisis. And every crisis became a battlefield you rushed onto without reconnaissance. If you had been a commander under my rule, I would have removed you from the field, not because you lacked courage, but because you lacked control. Courage without control is chaos, and chaos is never respected. Now, listen carefully. The one who controls the tempo controls the outcome, and the one who controls themselves controls the tempo. This is the principle you must carve into your bones. You cannot command others until you command your own impulses. You cannot influence the world until you regulate your internal climate. You cannot achieve dominance until your patience is stronger than your fear. Everything begins with you refusing to move when your emotions demand it. Everything begins with you standing still when your instincts scream for action. Everything begins with you holding your ground until the battlefield bends to you. This is not gentleness. This is not surrender. This is discipline weaponized. When I say patience is the highest form of dominance, I am not speaking poetically. I am describing the most lethal psychological strategy available to any human being. Patience is a siege. When you are patient, you are not doing nothing. You are starving the opposition of information, attention, and control. You are weakening their position with every moment they do not know where you stand. You are forcing them to guess, and guessing leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to openings. Openings lead to conquest. You have been the one guessing your entire life. You have been the one making mistakes. You have been the one creating openings for others. You have been the one conquered again and again by those who barely deserved the title of opponent. And why? Because you believed movement was strength. Because you believed urgency was virtue. Because you believed action was always better than stillness. It is time to abandon these illusions. Action without patience is a tantrum. Movement without timing is noise. Urgency without strategy is fear pretending to be power. You must harden yourself against the weakness of immediate gratification. Every time you rush to relieve your emotional discomfort, you sabotage your future advantage. You trade long-term power for short-term calm. This is the transaction you must stop making. A ruler who sacrifices the kingdom for a moment of relief is a ruler unworthy of the crown. And you, if you wish to rise, must refuse these emotional bargains. You must become someone who can tolerate the ache of uncertainty. Someone who can sit with the burn of anticipation. Someone who can wait even when their veins pulse with the urge to act. Your transformation will not begin with action. It will begin with restraint. Restraint is the forge of power. Restraint is where dominance is born. Restraint is the moment you decline to move and force the world to move around you. When you master this, people will fear disappointing you. They will fear losing your presence. They will fear your silence. They will fear your withdrawal. Not because you are cruel, but because you are no longer reactive. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability bends others into caution. This is how you shift from being controlled to becoming the one who controls. Patience is the architecture of this transformation, and you must build it brick by brick inside yourself. You must now confront the second battlefield, not the enemy, but the mirror. Until this moment, you have believed that the people around you held the power. You believed they were the ones who created your emotional storms. You believed their silence destabilized you. Their delays irritated you. Their distance wounded you. Their uncertainty disoriented you. But they only succeeded because you allowed them to. They did not conquer you. You surrendered. You surrendered because you feared what their behavior might mean. You feared what uncertainty might reveal. You feared that waiting long enough would expose truths you were not prepared to face. And so you rushed to act, not because you desired control, but because you feared losing it. This is the psychological trap that has kept you from rising. You rush toward answers because you cannot tolerate the thought that the truth might not favor you. You cling to people because you fear they might not choose you. You explain yourself because you fear your silence might not be forgiven. You pursue clarity before clarity is ready because you fear rejection more than humiliation. And worst of all, you call this love, loyalty, honesty, or vulnerability, but these are disguises. Beneath every disguise lies fear, and fear is the enemy of dominance. You must begin to understand that waiting is not a lack of action. Waiting is a strategic action. Waiting is reconnaissance. Waiting is supply line management. Waiting is the sharpening of blades. Waiting is the control of the battlefield. I once observed that the most effective rulers did not win because they struck first, but because they struck last. After everyone else had exhausted their strength, they let others waste their resources, reveal their alliances, expose their ambitions, and burn their own credibility. While others slept poorly from anxiety, the patient ruler slept with ease, knowing that time itself would become a weapon. You, however, have never slept well because you have never trusted time. You treat time as an adversary rather than an ally. You panic when time stretches. You suffocate when silence grows. You deteriorate when outcomes are not immediate. This is why you break formation. You rush into a battlefield before the terrain shifts in your favor. You sprint across open ground before the fog moves. You assault before your enemy's supplies run thin. You act because you cannot tolerate the waiting required for a true victory. Every time you have chased someone who pulled away, you were not running toward them. You were running away from the discomfort of waiting. Every time you demanded clarity, you were not seeking truth. You were seeking relief. Every time you explained yourself, you were not expressing honesty. You were begging for reassurance. And every time you acted out of impatience, you lost the position you could have held had you simply remained still. Now hear me. Clearly, a commander who moves because he cannot tolerate tension will always lose to a commander who can. The battlefield does not reward the emotional. The battlefield rewards the disciplined. If you cannot master your internal storms, you will always be defeated by external ones. You must become the kind of person others fear to disappoint, not through threats or cruelty, but through your unshakable restraint. When you act from impulse, people learn that you can be triggered. When you act from fear, people learn that you can be manipulated. When you act from insecurity, people learn that they can destabilize you. But when you hold, when you wait, when you refuse to react, people learn that you cannot be moved unless you decide to move. They learn that your emotions do not control you. They learn that your attention is not a resource they can extract with ease. They learn that you do not bend to pressure, you generate it. Let me show you the shift that occurs when you weaponize patience. When someone withdraws from you and you do not chase, they begin to wonder why. When someone delays their response and you do not rush toward them, they begin to feel the weight of uncertainty. When someone tests your limits and you do not collapse into explanation, they begin to fear they miscalculated. When someone offers less and you do not compensate by offering more, they begin to sense that you are not the one losing value they are. This is the beginning of psychological dominance, when your silence becomes louder than their insults, when your stillness becomes heavier than their chaos, when your patience becomes more destabilizing than their aggression. You do not need to speak to unsettle someone. Patience itself is a form of psychological warfare. But you have never used it this way. You have used patience only as endurance, never as dominancy. You waited because you felt helpless, not because you felt powerful. You waited passively, not strategically. You waited while suffering, not while observing. You waited hoping for change, not engineering it through precision and timing. And that is why your patience never yielded results. Patience without strategy is torture. Patience with strategy is sovereignty. You must understand the difference. The weak wait because they have no choice. The powerful wait because it strengthens their position. You must become the second kind. And to become that, you must exercise the internal ghosts that have haunted your relationship with time. Somewhere in your life, you learned that waiting meant danger. Perhaps when someone delayed affection, you interpreted it as punishment. Perhaps when someone withdrew love, you learned to chase it before it disappeared. Perhaps when authority figures were silent, you learned to fill the silence before the consequences arrived. Perhaps you were taught that the only way to be chosen was to hurry, to offer, to impress, to act, to move. And so you developed a reflex the moment uncertainty arises. You rush to eliminate it. This reflex has controlled your entire life. And like all reflexes, it is predictable. Predictability is the enemy of power. The one who is predictable forfeits the battlefield before the first arrow flies. You cannot be powerful if your enemies or the people you love know exactly how you will react. Your impatience has made you transparent. Your transparency has made you maneuverable. And your maneuverability has made you weak. To rise, you must become unreadable, not mysterious, not theatrical unreadable. The unreadable person is not one who hides behind riddles or games. The unreadable person is one who does not react until they are ready to act. Their silence is not hesitation, it is assessment. Their stillness is not passivity, it is positioning. Their patience is not obedience, it is preparation. When you become unreadable, people cannot weaponize your emotional responses because they cannot predict them. They cannot destabilize you with delays because your stillness grows heavier the longer it lasts. They cannot manipulate you with silence because silence no longer frightens you, it unsettles them. They cannot control you with uncertainty because you no longer require certainty to remain calm. This is the transformation that turns you from a pawn into a king. Do not misunderstand me. This is not about becoming cruel or cold-hearted. This is about becoming disciplined. Cruelty is for the insecure. Discipline is for the powerful. Cruelty screams insecurity. Discipline radiates command. Your goal is not to intimidate out of malice, but to dominate out of composure. The battlefield metaphor extends here. A commander does not need to shout threats for his soldiers to sense his authority. His stillness in chaos demonstrates it. His ability to assess without panic demonstrates it. His refusal to reveal his next move demonstrates it. His steadiness under pressure commands loyalty. This is how power is cultivated, not through theatrics, but through unwavering inner control. You must now see the cost of your former life clearly. Every time you acted prematurely, you paid indignity. Every time you acted out of anxiety, you paid in leverage. Every time you acted out of fear, you paid in respect. And every time you rushed to secure an outcome, you paid with your potential for dominance. You must feel the weight of these losses, not to punish yourself, but to recognize the stakes. You cannot rise until you acknowledge the battlefield you have been losing. You cannot become dominant until you understand why you were dominated. The past must now become ammunition for the future. There is something else. You must accept the people who controlled you never had the strength you imagined. They were not powerful. They simply knew how to withstand the silence you could not bear. They were not dominant. They simply waited longer than you could. They were not superior. They were patient. That was their advantage. And you gave it to them. Imagine how your life would change if you took that advantage back. Imagine how negotiations would shift if you waited for others to speak first. Imagine how relationships would rebalance if you let others wonder what you felt instead of rushing to confess. Imagine how opportunities would unfold if you acted only when the conditions favored you. Imagine how conflicts would dissolve if you did not react to every provocation. Imagine how people would treat you if your silence made them uneasy, instead of your anxiety making you obedient. This is what patience can do when you wield it as a weapon. It makes others reveal themselves. It forces them to act. It compels them to move first. It turns time into your ally. It transforms silence into your strategy. And it repositions you from the one who chases to the one who is chased. You must now carve this truth into your identity. The one who can wait without breaking becomes the one no one can break. This is the threshold. You must cross the threshold between who you have been and who you must become. Now you stand at the final edge of your transformation. The place where most people turn back because the truth becomes too sharp to hold. But you must not turn back. You came here to learn the cost of your own weakness, to understand the architecture of power, and to face the reality that has shaped your entire life. You have always moved prematurely because you did not trust your own value. You believed the world would forget you if you did not remind it. You believed people would leave if you did not pursue them. You believed opportunities would vanish if you did not seize them instantly. You believed silence meant rejection. Delay meant danger. Uncertainty meant loss. And so you lived as if you were always on the verge of being discarded, replaced, or overlooked. This created a life ruled by fear instead of strategy, reaction instead of preparation, impulse instead of intention. But now you must see that the greatest mistake you ever made was assuming your worth needed to be proven through action. Worth is not proven through action. It is demonstrated through restraint. Action is cheap. Stillness is expensive. Anyone can act. Very few can wait. Anyone can speak. Very few can stay silent until the moment benefits them. Anyone can chase. Very few can hold their ground while others drift. It is the cost of your restraint that reveals your value. And you have been offering yourself at a discount for years. The world senses when someone does not trust their own importance. They sense the trembling urgency behind your words. They sense the fear hidden in your eagerness. They sense the insecurity beneath your explanations. They sense the desperation in your pursuit. They sense your need long before you admit it to yourself. And the world responds accordingly. It gives you less. Because you signal that you will accept less, it moves slowly with you. Because you demonstrate that you cannot handle slow, it withholds from you. Because you rush to compensate for what others refuse to give. This is how power slips through your fingers, not through violence, not through betrayal, but through your inability to wait without collapsing. You must stop collapsing. You must become the one who outlasts, the one who endures silence, the one who does not rush to fill the void, the one who does not panic when things take time, the one who is willing to let the battlefield settle before choosing where to strike. You must become someone whose patience makes others uneasy, whose composure becomes a mirror reflecting the chaos of those around you, whose lack of reaction forces others to question their own tactics. When you no longer fear silence, silence becomes your ally. When you no longer fear time, time becomes your accomplice. When you no longer fear distance, distance becomes your filter, revealing who was loyal and who was merely entertained by your availability. You must learn that when people pull away, you do nothing. When they hesitate, you let them. When they test you, you maintain your formation. When they expect you to chase, you stay exactly where you are. This is not coldness. This is command. This is psychological fortitude. This is the discipline that breaks the patterns of your former life. The world does not attach itself to the one who grasps. It attaches itself to the one who stands firm. Those who grasp lose what they reach for. Those who stand firm force the world to reach toward them. Now look at your past with clarity instead of emotion. Every time you chased someone who hesitated, you trained them to hesitate. Every time you reassured someone who doubted you, you trained them to doubt you. Every time you forgave someone instantly, you trained them to disrespect you. Every time you explained yourself prematurely, you trained them to question you. And every time you acted out of impatience, you trained the world to see you as someone who could be moved, manipulated, or managed. This is why you have felt powerless, not because others were strong, but because your reactions were predictable. To break this pattern, you must become someone who behaves as though they have time, even when they do not. Someone who does not reveal urgency, even when the stakes are high. Someone who looks at consequences without trembling. Someone who lets others act first, knowing that the one who moves first often reveals their intentions. Someone who waits until the final moment and then strikes with precision, clarity, and force. Patience is the discipline of leaders. Impatience is the behavior of those destined to serve. This is what I observed in every court, every battlefield, every negotiation. The leader is not the one who speaks the most, but the one others wait for. The leader is not the one who demands attention, but the one whose attention must be earned. The leader is not the one who reacts quickly, but the one who chooses when to react. You cannot be a leader in your own life until you embody this principle. You cannot rise until you turn your impulses into soldiers held in formation, not barbarians rushing forward without command. You must reframe your understanding of dominance. Dominance is not aggression. Dominance is not cruelty. Dominance is not loudness. Dominance is control not over others, but over yourself. When you master yourself, others feel it. They sense the steadiness in your presence. They sense the composure in your energy. They sense the deliberateness in your silence. They sense the distance between your instincts and your actions. They sense that you do not belong to the emotional chaos that consumes them. This alone creates a shift in power. People respect what they cannot move. They admire what they cannot destabilize. They fear what they cannot predict. And so the first rule of dominance is this: if they control your emotions, they control you. If they control your pace, they control you. If they control your reactions, they control you. And they will always control you until you learn to remain still when stillness is required. Restrained when restraint is necessary. Silent when silence is advantageous. And patient when patience is the battlefield. You may think this transformation requires cruelty, but cruelty is a weapon for the insecure. Cruelty is for those who lack internal command and must compensate through intimidation. The truly powerful are rarely cruel. They do not need to be. Their presence alone alters behavior. Their restraint forces others to reveal themselves. Their patience breaks down the defenses of those who cannot endure it. Their silence demands answers. Their calm creates pressure. Their lack of pursuit unmasks loyalty. Their refusal to rush amplifies their influence. This is why I tell you that patience is the highest form of dominance, not because it is gentle, but because it is overwhelming. Patience crush illusion. Patience starves manipulation. Patience exposes the disloyal. Patience isolates the opportunistic. Patience breaks the impulsive. Patience suffocates the insecure. Patience outlasts the theatrical. Patience destroys those who rely on your weakness. Patience reveals who is genuinely strong, and it reveals that strength is you. Once you stop acting like prey, you are no longer allowed to behave as though you need anyone to validate your worth. You are no longer allowed to chase what pulls away. You are no longer allowed to beg for clarity. You are no longer allowed to fill silence with explanations. You are no longer allowed to rush to keep the peace. You are no longer allowed to move first, simply because you fear being left behind. These behaviors are now beneath you. They belong to your former self, the self that lost battles before the first arrow flew. The self that surrendered ground at the slightest discomfort. The self that lived as a pawn, not a commander. If you wish to rise, then rise with discipline, not desperation. Rise with strategy, not speed. Rise with silence, not noise. Rise with patience, not bandits. You must become the one who can stand still in the middle of chaos, who can maintain composure in the middle of uncertainty, who can resist the impulse to react when the battlefield demands restraint. You must learn to let time do half of your work. You must learn to let others reveal themselves. You must learn to wait until the world bends toward you. And it will bend, but only when you become someone who does not chase, who does not beg, who does not rush, who does not fear the pause, who does not collapse at the threat of delay. Power belongs to the one who can wait while others break under the tension. Influence belongs to the one who remains calm while others tremble. Dominance belongs to the one who makes time their partner instead of their enemy. Now you must choose, because everything comes down to this final moment. The battlefield of your life stands before you. On one side is the version of you that has always lived impulsive, reactive, anxious, governed by desperation, ruled by fear of loss, manipulated by silence, collapsing under waiting, surrendering leverage, offering explanations before they are earned, chasing those who drift away, giving more than you receive, bowing to the discomfort you cannot tolerate. This version of you is a servant, not a strategist, and if you choose that version again, know that nothing will change. Your life will repeat the same humiliations, the same losses, the same cycles, the same pain. On the other side stands the version of you that patience will build composed, deliberate, unreadable, disciplined, unprovocable, restrained, strategic, steady, anchored, immovable. The person who stands still while others panic. The person who waits while others overplay their hands. The person who holds their silence until others tremble beneath it. The person who acts only when the battlefield favors them. The person who does not fear being alone because they command their own mind. The person whose presence bends the behavior of those who once saw them as weak. This version of you is not a dream, it is a decision. A decision that must be made now. Choose whether you will continue as a pawn dragged by every impulse, or whether you will rise as a commander who bends time, silence, and psychology to their will. This is your final command from me. Do not move first. Do not speak first. Do not break first. Do not flinch first. The one who endures the longest controls the outcome. Now, Choose which battlefield you will rule, the one where your impatience keeps you enslaved, or the one where your patience makes you untouchable.